Chapter 5 Heinous. 1 year ago today, the Elden Lord swung his sword with ferocity as the last sister of Millicent fell, falling downwards to the bottom of the halig tree. Millicent sat by a rock as the gentle waters flowed around and down beside her. She did not have the face of victory, nor was she as sad to have rendered her sisters into a state of unliving. Something else troubled her mind, a sorrow. The Elden Lord stood beside her, a little winded from his fight, but still eager for the challenges ahead. Malenia, who was her mother. "I think that is the last of them. Are you hurt?" Millicent looked at him with neutral expression, completely indifferent to emotion. "No, I am fine. At least, for a little while. Take this. Remember me from it," she said as she held an object in her hand. It was the unalloyed golden needle that had kept her alive for many months. The Elden Lord gazed into her eyes. A tear erupted from both of them, merging into the soil together beneath them. Why? Why would you venture into death's embrace right after our victory together? Millicent smiled faintly, for she felt the love radiate from him, even although they had never proclaimed their love to each other. "Fret not, my love, even although we never embraced, for we could not. I have loved you since the day you saved me. I do not know how or why at first, and I don't know who was behind such an act that propelled you to nurture me, guide me, and love me as I can see now within your eyes. But if I am to flower into something other than myself, I would rot into nothingness as I am." Millicent, after speaking these words, faded and died, with a smile upon her face, while she felt the emotions of love. A sorrow ferried her being to somewhere else entirely. The Elden Lord fell to his knees and stared at her lifeless body, pondering how something so beautiful, even with rot infesting her being, could be taken so easily away from him. For now, he was truly alone. His head fell towards the ground as he knelt, and he entered a prison that this time he could not escape from, one that held hostage his broken heart. Present day. The Elden Lord woke from his daytime nap, sitting by a beautiful ancient tree in the misty fog. Torrent was eating grass, so calmly with grace. Truly Torrent was a steed fit for an Elden Lord. And then he heard it. Manly shouts of a battle nearby. He rushed to his feet and extinguished the campfire. As he mounted Torrent and rushed towards with heavy speed, he finally saw a battle of one man against 15 demonic wolves. The Elden Lord rushed quickly as Torrent galloped with ferocious haste to the foul accursed beasts that were attacking probably the only person besides the Elden Lord on the Regal Isles. Torrent smashed through the encircling lines of the wolves and ran over 2 bodies, snapping their bodies beneath him. The Elden Lord swung his sword and cleaved free in one fine strike. Truly an Elden Lord. The man that was in trouble grabbed his sword and began his attack also, lunging into the air as the wolves were distracted and came down upon them, cleaving through flesh, blood and bone, before the beasts finally fled with far fewer in number than they had. "You just saved my hide, friend. The name is Heinous, and I owe you an extensive debt," he said, overjoyed. For he truly believed he was a dead man. The Elden Lord nodded, then mounted Torrent, before continuing his journey to gather the soul of a demon that slept nearby. Heinous was a man who wore black leather armour that was that was decorated ironically with the patterns and iconography of wolves, and a depiction of a wolf's head was fashioned into the chest piece of the chest piece itself. "Wait, where are you going, noble one?" Haines said, as he wiped the dirt off from his leather armour that he clearly worn with pride. "Going," replied the Elden Lord with a jolly tone. Haines rushed to him, trying to keep pace with Torrent, who was galloping in a rather fast manner down the road. "Perhaps we can travel together, friend. Friends in places like these are well sought, yes?" The Elden Lord kept pace. "No, for where I am going, you would surely die, my good man, for I travel to secure the soul of a demon." "A soul of a demon? I assume you can trap the soul of such a dangerous entity, yes?" Haines said with desperation, hoping to attach himself to this fierce golden warrior. The Elden Lord stopped abruptly. "Do you?" said the Elden Lord, realizing that he did not possess such magic or item that could do so. The fact he made it so far near to such an entity and forget he did not have the means to imprison its soul was rather embarrassing on his part, but nevertheless he acted proudly. "I am a warrior, sir. I travel the lands here and there. I do not possess such means." The Elden Lord continued on his way round Torrent, he replied as he departed. "Then what use are you to me, then?" Haines quickly kept pace still, eager and close to making a new friend. "I didn't say I didn't know where to acquire such means, for I know there is a monster near here that protects the soul binder, a dagger of beautiful red glass that can leech the soul of any living thing's flesh it pierces." The Elden Lord stopped once more and faced the fatigued warrior hunter. "Take me to this beast, and let us slay it then." "I can't. Not right now. I really need the rest. Those demons on 4 legs were chasing me for 3 hours. I killed half their number, but still it proved a battle too heavy for even me. If you had not come when you did, I think I would now be wolf food." Haines began to stumble. The fatigue had decimated the function of his body, while his thirst and hunger also began to grow ravenously. As they began to depart from the battle site, they travelled down the road looking for a covered abode that would aid them in their rest. They soon found themselves outside of a ruined chapel that had been there for 1,000 years. The chapel was dark and haunted somewhat, and the glass was all shattered. The stone of the building had moss and vines covering it almost completely, with the windows obscured by a green blanket of poison ivy. The pair of them gathered at the wooden door. The hinges were very rusty, and any time they could fade to ferrous dust. Haines looked at the Elden Lord, guarding the left side of the door, while the Elden Lord covered the right side. "Something is in there. I can sense it," he said softly, hoping not to disturb what was resting within. The Elden Lord nodded in reply, but with swift action he kicked down the door, smashing the hinges off from the wall as they fell to the ground, shattering into many pieces. 8 ghouls, like the ones on the estate, wearing spiked armour that would impale a living being if they got too close. The Elden Lord rushed towards them, sword in hand, alongside Haines, who joined in the surprise attack. Twang, thud, bang, noises as their weapons barely cleaved through flesh, and after a minute, only 1 was killed. 7 remained. "We can't get through their armour," Haines shouted aloud. "Aim for their necks," said the Elden Lord. "I will try, but I do not have a crazy longsword like you do, my lord." "Use technique and channel your energy. I will cast a spell on your sword. It will turn into a black flame. Use it to clean through." "Right, On your command, noble lord. The Elden Lord casted the black flame blade, and both his and Haenus' swords glowed a black flame. They used the opportunity in time, slicing their foes apart as the burning black flames bubbled the armour of the ghouls and cleaved easily through them like a knife through butter. The ghouls were defeated, and the first co-op victory on those islands had been won. That was a good fight, friend. I had never seen such creatures as those before. I only arrived a few days ago, you see, Haenus rested, sitting on the floor that held the wooden remnants of ancient old pews that had been used in a time where the chapel was at its prime. There are many animated forms of undead on this island, but the ones like these that wear this rusted steel carapace are quite formidable. The last ones I saw were part of the estate just a few miles from here, where I was last from meeting you on the road. The Elden Lord took out a cloth and began to polish his armour, cleaning the foul, odorous life essence of the accursed creatures from his radiant being. Haenus' eyes grew wide. Oh, so you are the one that killed the witch, the Queen Mother. I heard her screams from the outskirts of the forest. What a glorious path you lead. The Elden Lord also sat, resting on the floor as a sight of grace revealed itself, giving him the opportunity to refill his crimson flask and contemplate future action. He turned to Haenus, who still had eyes of wonder about the Elden Lord. Not everything is glorious about the path I tread. Sometimes I wish to have a rest, but it is never that simple. I am in a quest to rescue someone dear to me. She was taken by Death himself and locked away into an eternal realm of darkness that does not seek the purity of light and kindness, but the ravenous lust of greed and the undignified delight in torture. I am Elden Lord, killer of gods and men, slayers of demons and beasts, vengeful and calculating, destroyer of lands and raiser of towns. But at the end of the day, I am just a man who seeks the desires of that of a normal man. Haenus nodded in agreement and joyfully said, Well, I don't know about you, but a good woman in my bed or two, and a plenty of riches will do me fine. A good ale would be a godly delight right now. I wish we had some ale. The Elden Lord looked at him and began to roar with laughter that echoed under his helmet. Funny lad you are. I haven't had a good laugh in a while. 1 year ago, the Elden Lord and Millicent were venturing up towards a rock crevice that was said to bear the cave hollow of a fearsome beast, renowned to have the ability to cure afflictions from its blood, something that could alleviate Millicent's rot. As they approached this mystical cave, a harrowing noise of evil lurked within, stirring intentions of harm towards the duo, who gathered their stances and were ready to meet them in a great and fearsome battle that would outlive the ages. Well, in the nearby village at least. They entered the cave. The Elden Lord took charge and used an incantation to light his sword on fire, lighting the way ahead for both of them. Do you think this could work? That this could heal you? He said curiously. Millicent said with a graceful smile, I don't know. Hopefully, but we must try anything it seems, for if it could work, it could help many other people in need also. 5 minutes had passed and they appeared inside a cave. A beautiful cave of glistening stone that lighted the cave dimly with a subtle light source from the outside sun, while also a gentle pool of calming blue water glistened in its glory also. This is truly a beautiful place. How could such a thing live in a pure place such as this? It is an affront to beauty itself, she said with anger, as her words echoed the cavern. Suddenly, the beast bore down at the pair of them, surprising them as they had been captured by the tranquillity of the ferocious beast's lair. Millicent fell into the water, disturbing its grace, while the Elden Lord took charge and threw a spear into the beast's neck as it fell to the ground, flooding the calm, gentle blue waters into crimson. The beast was dead. The Elden Lord gazed at his dead prey. It was only a boar. He then looked towards Millicent, who struggled to get out of the water, as her prosthetic arm was not adhering to her commands, due to the water that seeped into its mechanisms. The Elden Lord began to laugh profusely to Millicent's frowning demeanour as she eventually lifted herself out of the water and looked towards the dead boar. She too began to laugh. The Elden Lord spoke aloud with glee. I just realised that he's called the Elden Lord here, but he should actually be called the Tarnished, since he isn't Elden Lord yet. Oh well. The Elden Lord spoke aloud with glee. I guess that is dinner sorted then. Millicent giggled. But my lord, your belly is already full of laughter, joked Millicent as she detached her arm and cleaned the water out. You are one to talk, my lady, said the Elden Lord, as her laughter made him smile under that helmet of his. Millicent sighed. I wish it was the magical beast that the obvious con man spoke of. I guess we keep trying. The Elden Lord faced her, gazing into her eyes. Although he could not, he wished to embrace her. Instead, he spoke words that lifted her being. We will keep trying, because I will never abandon you, and I will never, ever give up on you, my lady. Present day. Where are you, sir? said Haines softly, as the burning bonfire inside the chapel warmed their bodies, and the smoke escaped from a very narrow gap in the ceiling. The Elden Lord looked towards Haines. A memory. A good memory? One of the best. It is getting rather late, Elden Lord. We should start to sleep soon, for we have a very busy day ahead, one that could mean our deaths if we are not well rested and fed. The Elden Lord nodded towards his new ally and friend, and began to drift asleep on that stone floor, but had now begun to warm with the radiant heat and glow of the fire. The sky above them, although they could not see it because they were inside the chapel, nor able because of the fog, if they were outside, was covered in a blanket of stars and ethereal colours that would gently calm anyone to sleep. Even while he rested inside that chapel, he still felt the lingering eye of a dark presence upon him, watching, calculating, and pulling the strings of fate, so that one day it could devour his life force from his being. Something had arrived to the regal isles, and the Elden Lord could feel it only momentarily. That was chapter 5. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next.